Hey everyone, John here again from freedomkit.ai, and in this video I want to attempt to explain domains and subdomains in a way that everyone can understand. This is by and large the number one tripping block that people that are not technically backgrounded that they have an issue with when trying to set up their account. So in this video I want to get out of the software and instead, let's explain it in a way that I think everyone can understand. We're going to use houses and street addresses to explain domains and subdomains and all of that stuff, okay? And then we'll be proceeding throughout this and setting up domains and subdomains exactly step by step inside of Freedom Kit throughout this, the video and the steps to follow it. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So growing up, I grew up on a nice property. It was out in the country. There weren't a ton of rules. And so there was a lot of freedom in how you could set up your houses. So I'm going to think about my childhood as how we're going to learn about subdomains and domains. So I had a big old property in the country and my parents bought a house right there, okay? And that house, we'll just say, for the sake of example, was 111 Street. All right, 111 Street. That's not my actual address, but you get the idea. So people could go, plug that into their GPS, and they can go to 111 Street, then they would get to my house. All right? That is the domain, basically. That would be the idea of you go here, this is your domain, you go into your website, you type in 111 Street, and then you know how to get to it because you know where that points to. All right, and then over time, because we had a nice country yard, my parents decided to build a little cottage. And so there's a tiny little cottage that they decided to build out in the back of their house, and they let one of their friends live there. Okay, so this is friend's house. All right, so if we just built it and did nothing else, let's say, for example, they wanted to receive their mail. All right, so this is their mailbox. That's a little red mailbox sign. And then my parents, they had their mailbox and their red mailbox sign. If we didn't set up an address for the friend's house, when someone would try to send a letter to 111 Street, all the mail would go into this one spot, right? Because there's nothing telling them that, oh, by the way, you just need to follow this little gravel street and go to this little cottage in the back. So this is where we oftentimes find ourselves with our websites. Let's say, for example, you want to do a few things with your business. You want to have a blog, and maybe you already have a blog, and maybe your blog is over there on a WordPress website. But you also want to have a funnel, and you found some snazzy funnel software like Freedom Kit, and you want to have a funnel working, but you still want it to be related to your business. You still want it to be related to your brand and your domain. And maybe you also have an online course, maybe you want to have a community, and you want to have all these things set up. So in the same way, you can have a property that has other little businesses on it. And we have solved this in the real estate business. And we do that by having buildings or suites. So as an example, we might change this home to be, well, it could still be 111 Street, but then maybe this building over here would become 111 Street Building 2, right? Or you might have 111 building or 111 Street, and this would be maybe Suite 3. You know, think about your doctor's offices, any strip malls, things like that. They have ways of identifying that they're not exactly the same as the main address, but they are still related at a very deep level. This is a good analogy for subdomains. So let's think about, again, this is the real world. So we can think about like Suite 3 and Building 2. They can all be subdomains or subdirectories of the original 111 Street. This is also how subdomains work on the internet in a rough sense. So what I'm going to do is erase this, and let's now turn this from a real estate example into a website example. Because once they decide to put Building 2 or whatever, and a letter comes, they're able to say, oh, this needs to go to this mailbox, and this one needs to go to that mailbox. You get the idea. The same exact thing, I got too aggressive there. The same exact thing happens with subdomains. So now let's create domains and subdomains in this example. Let's say, for example, your main website is going to be an e-commerce shop on FreedomKit. So you're going to have www.mysite.com. And this is going to point to FreedomKit. But maybe you already have a website over on a WordPress website or something like that, or you want to create another service, you want to use another tool as well, totally fine. What you can do is make a subdomain of mysite.com. So to do that, we can create something like courses.mysite.com. We basically take that www that people are kind of used to just by default adding in front of a website. We can get rid of that and turn it into courses. Or you can create community.mysite.com or support.mysite.com, etc. Okay? So these little phrases in front, these are called subdomains. Now, if you already bought a domain, let's say you were on GoDaddy or Cloudflare, because you're smart and Cloudflare is amazing. If you already purchased your domain, and let's say, for example, you spent $12 per year on your domain, right? So you spent $12 per year and you have access to this address for the entire year. What about these guys and these guys? This is a common question that some of our new users get. Do you need to pay money for your additional subdomains? No, you absolutely do not. It's very easy to create a subdomain in any registration, any domain registrar. Basically, you just have to put one little record in, which we'll cover later on in a separate video. But that is all you have to do. You can simply say, I'm going to add this record. I want to say courses points to this number or this data. And this is all going to be copy and paste. It's going to be very easy. We'll explain how to do it. And in most cases, you don't even have to copy and paste. We'll simply use the integrations we already have built in to do it for us. So to wrap things up, if you already have a domain, let's say, for example, you have a domain, you've been working on it for 10 years, it's in WordPress, you're very happy with how your blog is going, but you're ready to join FreedomKit and you're not sure what to do with your domain, what I'd recommend you do, go ahead and keep your website as it is working. There's no need to break what's already working or change what's already working. But in other areas, let's say, for example, you wanted to have a shop and you want to use our new Printfuls integration and you want to sell products and not have to worry about WooCommerce or any expensive plugins, you could create a subdomain called shop.yoursite.com. Or what if you want to have an online course and you want to have an entire academy and have places where people can log in and learn, and maybe your blog can drive traffic to your courses? Easy. Create a subdomain. Course, maybe courses.mysite.com. And if you want to have pages or anything like that, you can simply create maybe get.mysite.com. So, for example, maybe they're reading your blog and it's all about, let's say your domain is learnandlove.com. Maybe that could be where your blog is. All you have to do, if you want to have a funnel that maybe sells your online course, just make a subdomain. Call it get.learnandlove.com. And the get.learnandlove.com can point to FreedomKit, and while still your existing blog, if it's learnandlove.com, that can still be pointing to wherever it is, WordPress, Squarespace, whatever you got going on. All right, so again, I just wanted to understand this at a high level. Basically, your property, if this is our property in the physical world or in the digital world, this is your domain. Anything that you see is your domain, like Lion King talking to Simba about Pride Rock and all that. But you need to be able to specify because your domain may grow over time. Your empire may grow. You might want to have a tool for this, a tool for this. So for example, in FreedomKit, we have freedomkit.ai that points to our sales page for FreedomKit. We also have app.freedomkit.ai that actually points to our software itself. We also have help.freedomkit.ai and that points to our knowledge base and our help center, etc., etc. So please don't be afraid about domains. I know it can seem confusing and overwhelming and techy and scary, but just follow along the step-by-step guidance you're given inside of FreedomKit. And in general, you can stick with a single domain and do a whole bunch of stuff with it. I would ask myself the question, if you're trying to figure out should I get a new domain versus subdomain? This might be a common question you might be thinking. Do you get a new one or a subdomain? Keep in mind that a new domain is going to cost you additional money, right? Because you're buying or registering a new domain. You're also going to have no brand authority. So if you buy a new domain, and you're doing that because you want to have your old domain point to your old site and your new domain point to FreedomKit, that might not have as much continuity. People might not remember who you were before. It can also just make things a bit more complicated. In general, I'm going to recommend, unless it's a new business, go with the subdomain. You have familiarity. There are, admittedly slight, but there are some SEO benefits because Google is able to put together the fact that the subdomains are somewhat related to the main domain, and all of those reasons. So if it is an existing business, if you are just tacking on to an existing business, subdomain. If you are totally branching off and wanting to create separation, if it is a new business, new domain. That would be some rough ideas and things to help you out with the domain side. Now, moving forward in this tutorial, we're going to show you how to set up domains, how to manage them, set up subdomains, all that good stuff. But this is a good place to get started. If you don't have this basic understanding of what a domain is and subdomains, then it all just seems like a different language. But if you realize that it all has to do with simply getting directions from wherever your visitor is to wherever they want to go on the internet related to your business, then it all starts to fill in the gaps and make more sense, and it's an easy process to go forward. All right, I'll see you in the next video.